All right, so for this video, we are going to do a comparison. And just a little reason that I wanted to do this video is to compare what the average person is versus an extraordinary person is in terms of attractiveness. So there is somewhat of a delineation between these two individuals that we see right here. I'm gonna be going through some of their measurements or their notable measurements, and I will be comparing them. So what we have on our left side is Lionel Messi. Obviously, he's a professional soccer player, probably one of the best soccer players in the world. His harmony score is 15%, and that is pretty low. I believe he is probably the lowest harmony score I've rated out of all the celebrities. But even if you have a low harmony score, it doesn't mean that your overall facial rating is going to be low, because he's still within the 50 percentile, right? As you guys can see, 1 in 1.94 people, which pretty much puts him in the 50th percentile, which makes him average. All right. So and another thing too is not just the harmony score, the miscellaneous features, the body fat factors, and the facial dimorphism also does take into effect when it comes in terms of attractiveness. So the harmony score is pretty much like a base. All right, so Awesome Dunham, he is a social media influencer. He's also, I guess you could say, a dating coach. So it kind of makes sense why he is that. His harmony score is a 74%, which is extremely high. He is 1 in 5,000 people in terms of, of attractiveness, I guess you could say. And he is within the top 0.002%. So very, very rare to see a person like this. So yeah, that just to give y'all an idea, that's like seeing a Bugatti on the street. So what are the chances of you seeing that, right? So that's probably why he is um, doing the profession that he's doing. All right. So we're gonna go through some of the measurements, and I also want to tell y'all guys that the measurements that I did, this was like in the beginning when I first started. So a lot of these measurements might look a little bit silly, but I still use the same concept. Is y'all gonna see exactly what I mean, but some of the measurements might kind of look a little bit silly. All right, so the first measurement is a total facial height width ratio. And another thing, before I start, make sure to click the link down in the description if you want to see all my facial measurements to all the celebrities that I've done. And I believe I've done over 55 for both genders. So I did 55 male celebrities and 55 female celebrities within all different races and ethnic groups. So make sure you check that out as well. And also make sure to DM me on IG if you want to get your face rated, and it's going to be for free. And it's only going to take me like 3 days to pretty much get that done. And yeah, so within 3 days, you'll pretty much know where you rank. All right, so the first one is a total facial heights width ratio. Now, the total facial height width ratio is pretty much to see how elongated your head is, or how short and compact it is altogether. And for a male, you don't want to have a very compact head shape. You want your head to be a little bit on the longer side. So 1.4 is a little bit out there. Is a little bit on the longer end, while 1.34 is on the shorter end, but it's still not too short to be considered unattractive, I guess you can say. It's still within the shorter end for the male ideal, but it's still short, but it's good enough. All right. So Lionel Messi has a very elongated head. And sometimes you wouldn't even tell within pictures, but if you see that person in real life, you'll be like, okay, I see what this measurement is pretty much explaining. And another thing too is, well, I'll get to that later, but well, I'm gonna say it right now. Another thing too is that even though Lionel Messi didn't do good in a lot of his measurements, one thing that I did find out is that he did have some measurements that were ideal that Awesome Dunham, the guy to the right side, didn't have. So I'm showing y'all the ones that Awesome Dunham did excellent in, and Lionel Messi did not. But these ones that he didn't do too well in are the major um, angles that you need to pass in order to get a high harmony score. So, for example, like the gonial angle. One person has a sharp gonal angle, one person has an obtuse gonal angle. So Lionel Messi is at 149, which is very obtuse, and Awesome Dunham has a gonal angle of 122. Now, 149 is extremely obtuse. I believe I did a female Indian celebrity. She had a gonal angle of like 150, and the last person I can think of that had a gonal angle that wide is maybe like Mia Khalifa or The Rock. But if you have an extremely wide gonal angle and it's not sharp enough, it's not going to look attractive. So you want to have very sharp edges in terms of aesthetic because it makes the face aesthetically pleasing. All right, so the next one is the deviation from the ipsilateral alar angle to the jaw frontal angle. So this is the angle that's created from the mid face, going from the subnasal all the way to the outer edges or to the outer canthus of your eyes. And Messi has a deviation of 19, while Austin Dunham has a deviation of 2 degrees. And you want this deviation to actually be under 5 degrees. Anything above, I think, is 15 is going to be a flaw at that point. And Messi being at 19 is obviously a flaw. And another thing too is, which I will describe later with the jaw angles, but since we're going to talk about the ipsilateral alar angle, you want that ipsilateral alar angle to match or be parallel to that jaw frontal angle. So you don't want that to deviate too far out. It should be almost identical. All right, so the recession relative to the Frankfurt plane angle, all right? So another thing that I do want to talk about as well, but as y'all guys can see that Lionel Messi's jaw, he does have a lot of jaw recession, and I think he also had chin recession as well too. But Awesome Dunham, I don't think he did have a little bit of chin recession, but his lips kind of made for it because he has very projected lips. But as y'all guys can see that he does have a jaw that is very recessed, extremely recessed. It actually goes behind his orbital vector. So I believe this is the most recessed jaw I've seen. I think the only person I could think of that had a more recessed jaw than him is maybe El Chapo's wife. I can't remember her name, or YNW Melly. But other than them two, I like this is extremely recessed. This is actually like, oof, this is a pretty far distance between here to the nasion right there. And another thing to kind of offset this too, if you have less chin projection, or even if you have less jaw projection, is to have a goatee. So if you have hair around the chin area, which he does, this is very, very smart and intelligent what he's doing. But he's not fooling me though. But this is where his chin is actually at right here. But what he's trying to do, he's trying to make an illusion to where his chin is right here, so it can look like it's past the nasion. Now, even though his chin here is not really past the nasion, it doesn't look as bad. But I can tell you guys right now, if he was clean shaven, this will look horrible because it's too much recession going on with the jaw. All right, so the next one, right, is jaw frontal angle. All right, so this is why they say jaw is law, because a lot of these measurements have to do with the jaw, right? And especially for men, the jaw is very a sexually dimorphic feature for a man. And if your jaw is not in place, you can pretty much say that you're going to be average or maybe even below average in terms of attractiveness. That's just the way it is. All right, so one thing that I noticed too is with Lionel Messi is that I believe he does have a long chin. And also I don't think his bigonial width was that wide as well. But his chin and is gonna fall into another measurement as well. It's not only his chin, but also his mandible inclination, but we'll get to that later. But right here, he is at 66 degrees, while Austin Dunham is at 95 degrees. And 95 degrees pretty much means that he does have a very wide angle. And once we get to another measurement, this measurement will pretty much explain why the jaw frontal angle is this way. But 66 degrees versus 95 degrees, that is a massive difference. All right, so the submetacurvical angle is pretty much the angle of the neck, or below the neck, I should say. And one person has a wide or obtuse angle, while the other person has a more of a right angle, or closer to an acute angle. Now, Awesome Dunham's angle is 113, which isn't really ideal, but it's still kind of close to it, or is near it. While Messi's is more on the obtuse side of things, right? So preferably you want something that is around the 90 to 95-ish range, preferably. Maybe a little bit more than that could be okay. But anything past that is going to be slightly off. Now, a lot of people have trouble passing the submesocervical angle, which is perfectly understandable, but you don't want to have a neck that stretches out this wide. And the gonium bone is right here. The gonium bone, if it stretches that low, is not gonna look attractive, and yeah, it should not stretch all the way that low. But yeah, so that's just the main difference between him and Awesome Dunham. Awesome Dunham does have a little bit of um skin around underneath his jaw angle, which is okay though, but it's not too much. But if it's too much loose skin underneath the jaw, um it also gonna make the angle more wider as well. All right, so the next thing is the cheekbone height settiness. And for the cheekbone height settiness, there's a major difference between these two guys. So this is the mid face, this line right here for both of them, going from the eye line down to the upper lip, and then where the cheekbone is the most prominent, which is this line right here, going from that point all the way down to the upper lip for both of them. What you would do is you would divide that by the mid face, and whatever number you get is what you see right here. So we see a massive difference, 67 for Messi and then 81 for Awesome Dunham. And obviously, you want to have cheekbones that are more higher set. It makes the face just looks more attractive, I guess you could say, and makes the face look more aesthetically pleasing. And it's always better to have higher set cheekbones as well, because it's very unique, and not that many people do have higher set cheekbones as well. All right, so the mandibular plane angle. So one of the main reasons why I said that Awesome Dunham's jaw is more wider than Lionel Messi's jaw is because of this. Now remember this. I did say that when I measured these two guys' faces, I was a little bit of a newbie and I didn't do some things right. Now, this right here, this line that y'all see right here, is the horizontal Frankfurt plane angle. Now, I put it a little bit too high, maybe like 2 to 3 degrees too high. So this number that you see right here, the 42, is actually should be of 39. But even if it's a 39, that is still a massive flaw. So this angle that y'all see right here is way too downsloped. So his mandible is too downsloped downwards. So it's not going to make an aesthetically pleasing gonial angle. So this is part of his gonial angle. So the vector that's coming down and also the vector that's coming up towards the ramus all the way to his earlobe, versus something that is a gonial angle like this, how sharp his gonial angle is, and it not doesn't have too much of an downward inclination, only at 22 degrees. So your mandible inclination can be a massive factor into your frontal jaw angle. So other measurements will account for your frontal measurements. Really, your side measurements can affect your frontal measurements. So these are one of the ways that your side measurements has a massive impact to it. All right, so this is going to be the last one. I just wanted to make this video very quick for y'all guys. And I also want to say this. If you have the chance, do microblading. I'm not saying that you have to microblade, but if you can, do it. I think Awesome Dunham does it, and it helped them tremendously, as y'all guys can clearly see. But if you have eyebrows that are not very thick and high in density, maybe y'all might need to invest money and try it out. So that's just, I guess they call it a soft looks maxing advice. But yeah, that is something that the guy on the right does a lot. So, or he advocates for it. Messi on the left has a inclination, an upwards inclination of 2.5 degrees, and Austin Dunham with an increased upward inclination of 9.5 degrees. Obviously, the guy with the higher inclination is the one with the more ideal eyebrows. Now, another thing too is one person has um more denser eyebrows than the other one. So Messi's eyebrows isn't that dense. It doesn't have that many hair fibers on it. So that's why the microblading will help as well. And I also hear people talk about minoxidil and all the other stuff. But anyway, that's pretty much for the video. And I just wanted y'all to see the difference between the average versus the outstanding, I guess you can say, in terms of attractiveness, and also the difference in harmony score as well. And there are some things that Messi did better than Austin Dunham too. It's not just a one-way thing, but for the most part, Austin Dunham did dominate in the measurements that were worth the most points. So that's why his harmony score was extremely high versus the other person's harmony score. Like I said, if you want me to rate your face, make sure to DM me on IG, and within 2 to 3 days, you will get your rating. Just as simple as that, and it's for free. So yeah, I'm out. Peace.